So first is brain is large in proportion to body size, okay, as compared to other organs. Okay, it's called as measured by here 1.9. Cephalic index. Okay, that is the measurement unit. So brain to body ratio we are talking about. Brain to body ratio in primates is larger. Second point is what? If you look at the limbs are, especially if you talk about hand, is what? Prehensile. Prehensile means like if you compare your foot, all the 5 fingers are basically what? In the same line. So you cannot use your foot to hold something or grasp something. In hand, what do we have? This kind of movement is there. Okay, thumb is also called as opposable thumb. Here it is written. The thumb is opposite to the line of the main 4 fingers. So using this, what you can do? Grasp or hold something. So that is called as prehensility. Mainly, it is the prehensility is largely, we can say, it is a result of opposable thumbs that have developed in the primates. Okay, so both of these are related together. Okay, developed fingers, nails, and toes that has developed in the primates. We have flexible forearm that can move. Reduced canines. All of you, I think, know what is canine. Is the to the sharp that was earlier used to what? Tear around flesh and all. So as the diet pattern of the primate change, what happened? The requirement of big large canine also basically was not so much. So canine has reduced in size. Centrally placed foramen magnum. Foramen magnum is the bottom part of your skull. Okay, it's kind of big hole is there at the bottom of a skull through which your entire spinal column is connected. Okay, that is called as what? Foramen magnum. So foramen magnum is placed centrally. Central to what? Central to your body axis. So centrally placed foramen magnum in the bottom part of the skull, which is used to connect the vertebral column. Okay, look at the skeleton also to understand this more. First, you can write all this point to understand all these places where it is. A remarkable reduction in prognathism. What is prognathism? You have seen the face of apes. Okay, how their face look like? They have muzzle-like appearance. The face snout is kind of projecting in the outward direction. Our face is what? More, we can say, in one single vertical line. It is not projecting in the outward direction. The which part we're talking about? The lower part, below the this nose. Okay, in the apes, it is projecting in the outward direction. That is called as prognathism. In humans, basically, what is happening? Gradually, the prognathism has reduced. Remarkable reduction in prognathism that we can read. As compared to older organisms, we have remarkable reduction in prognathism. Posture has become more erect. This is again for humans, this is applicable. It is not seen in all the primates, but this is specifically in humans. In other primates such as gibbons and all, you have opposability of gait. So same thing I told you. In the hand we have opposable thumb, but in the feet, the toe is not opposable, cannot be used to grasp. Eyes are located forward on the skull. If you compare with organisms such as any animals you take like dogs, cats, how their eyes are situated laterally to the skull. Okay, on this side, one on this side. Our eyes have moved where? In the front side. So we can say much more longer as compared to much more around. Okay, like cats, if we talk about, they can see 260 degree. Okay, just by placing their face in one direction. We cannot see. Okay, maximum how? What is our area view, peripheral view? So that is because our eyes have moved where? In the front direction, frontal or forward on the skull. Okay, birth of offspring is generally one this children or one child is generally bring this birth or born at a given time, and prolonged growth of maturity. Okay. The infant that is born cannot become independent fast. They have to be dependent on their parents or largely mother, okay, for their survival. So prolonged infant dependency. So these are the major characteristics that we can identify in the primates, and most of which are specific to the humans. Okay, because we belong to the primate order. Now there is one small topic is there where we have talked about the living major primates. Okay, so man or human we have talked in detail. Before that, four main primates that we have to discuss about. So few characteristics you can write about them as well. Okay, so we have written all this point. So four primates, living primates we have to discuss about. Okay, this will come later. These are gibbons. First of all, we can write about is gibbon. Some brief details about the gibbons. Okay, so as you can see, if you compare them with the other apes such as orangutan, gorilla, and chimpanzee, gibbons are what? Much more smaller in size. Okay, so first of all, you talk about where they are found. We can write the distribution, area of distribution. The area of distribution. So we can write Southeast Asia, Southeast Asia, India, Southeast Asia, India, and China. Three regions we can identify. Gibbons are distributed in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia means which countries? All the Thailand, okay, Cambodia, Vietnam, and all these countries come. Indonesia also further. And then we have further north India, and then further connected to that we have China. That is the general area of distribution. Now coming to the characteristics, okay, as we can see the size is very small, so we can say that they are basically around 3 feet. Okay. First point we can write the height. Height of gibbons are around 3 feet. Weight is 50 kg nearby. Weight is 50 kg. Next is the 80 to 90 cubic centimeter. That is the cranial capacity, as you call it. The inside volume of the brain. Cranial capacity. Cranial capacity is very, very small if you compare with humans. In human, the average cranial capacity is 1450 cc. So as compared to them, it is only how much? 80 to 90 cc. So cranial capacity 80 to 90 cc. Next, well developed visual power. Well developed visual power. And then we have, if you look at the length of, these are what, forelimbs. These are what we call as hind limbs. Okay, so in the gibbons, forelimbs is longer than the hind limbs. That is also reverse of humans. In humans, what do we have? The hind limb is longer, forelimb is relatively smaller. Okay, so here it is opposite. You can write the forelimbs are longer than hind limbs. Forelimbs are longer than hind limbs. Next, okay, the body is covered with woolly hair. Body is covered with woolly hair, but there is no hair on the face. Body is covered with woolly hair, but there is no hair on the face. If you look at the dental pattern of gibbons, it stands at 3 to 4. Sorry, not dental pattern, digital pattern. Dental, digital pattern. Digital pattern is 32451. Digital pattern is 32451. Digital pattern means what? We are talking about the digits. What are digits? 5 digits we have in our hand. Okay, so what are we talking about? 32451. It refers to the number of bones that you have in a single finger. Okay, so we have 3, 2, 4, 5, 1 bone. Okay, starting from the this one going to the thumb. Okay, so in the little finger, how many bones they have? 3 bones. Okay, then in this finger they have 2 bones, then 4, then 5, then 1. Okay, that is what it is. So 32451. A number of bones in fingers, basically digits. Okay, same for feet also. The same pattern is for all the digits, both in hand and this. For them, hand, feet we cannot use. Hind limb and forelimb we can use. Both hind limb and forelimb have similar digital pattern, same digital pattern. And last point we can write, the locomotory pattern is called as brachiation in them, or we can say locomotion pattern. In the gibbons, the locomotion pattern means how they move. So that is referred as brachiation. Locomotor pattern is brachiation. Brachiation means they are moving from one branch to other branch. Okay, that is called as brachiation. By same way how you are seeing in the picture. Okay, they are basically hanging from their forelimb, because forelimb is very taller, body size is what very compact and small. Okay, so it is easier for them to keep on hanging by their forelimbs from the tree branches, and then same by rotating they can move from one place to the other place on the branches. So moving on the branches by hanging from the forelimbs, that is called as what? Brachiation. Okay, so we have talked about locomotion pattern details. 5-6 locomotion pattern are there. There again we'll talk about in more detail, but here you have to simply understand the term. Okay, so by using their forelimbs they are moving on the tree branches, so that is the brachiation pattern. So out of the 4 we have to study about the 4 primates, gibbon is considered as farthest from the human line of evolution, because they are very distinct as compared to the humans. Okay, so this last concluding remark we can write, based on their characteristics, gibbons stand, based on their characteristic, gibbons stand a long way off. Gibbons stand a long way off from the human ancestral line. From the human ancestral line. So that is about the first primate, that is gibbon. Written this one all point. Then after the gibbons, next we can talk about is the orangutans. Okay, so as you can see, this is the orangutans. Okay. Local people call them criminals of the forest. Okay, because they act like the crime boss. Okay, they abduct people also sometimes. Really, it's true. Okay, if you're going through forest and they have very strong hands. Okay, so many times they do this with tourists, because what happened, they started giving tourists that go in the Borneo forest and Sumatra forest, either from Indonesia and Malaysia. So they keep on giving some food and all that, and they got habituated of this. And then they started giving food and taking off the photos. Okay, now they understood that they are holding their hands. Okay, they understand that my hand is very strong. Okay, and these people cannot remove the hand. Okay, so they hold him and keep on demanding stuff. Okay, they give them banana chips, all they eat, they're still holding the hand. Okay, want more and more. Many time what happens, they become very agitated if some people try to push them. And one time this accident has happened in this Indonesia, when a girl was there from US. Okay, and they like someone try to scare them so that he can leave the hand of the girl, and he took the girl and went on the trees. Okay, just by holding from one hand. Okay, that is the power. So later on, it was very big injury. Somehow the locals were able to get the girl back, but that is how they are doing this. Okay, so that is when they started calling them criminals of the forest. So live in two regions largely. Okay, two regions. This is the only area where the orangutans are found. That is where they are also at very high risk of extinction due to the deforestation that is observed in this area. So Borneo is a region, and Sumatra. Okay, Borneo is both Malaysia and Indonesia shares the territory here. So in the Borneo region of Malaysia and Indonesia, and Sumatra is the island of Indonesia. Borneo and Sumatra. Here we can add this high risk of extinction due to deforestation and forest fires. Deforestation and forest fire. Okay, in last few years, this has become more catastrophic, where a large area of forest has been cut off and burned also, killing a lot of orangutans. So Borneo and Sumatra. So clearly identifiable by their unique hair, that is red hair. Okay, no other monkeys or any apes will find red hair. Chimpanzees and gorillas largely are having black hair. So that is the first point we can write. Okay, unique in red hair. Okay, or unique characteristic of red hair. Unique characteristic of red hair. There also arboreal. We can add next. Orangutans are also arboreal. Arboreal means what? Living in the trees. Okay, do not live on the land. Generally, they for some time they can come on land for searching of food and all, but generally they live on the trees itself. Arboreal in nature. Okay, but obviously the size of orangutan is what, as compared to gibbon, very large. So you can understand that both are doing which kind of locomotor motion? Brachiation, because they're moving on the trees. But the speed at which gibbons move is much more greater than the speed at which orangutans move. They may move very slowly, very carefully. Okay, because if they are this kind of gibbons can hang on any kind of branches. Okay, whether it is weak branches, thin branches, thick branches, they do not have so much weight. The orangutans, they have to be careful that they only go on such branches which can support their weight. Okay, so that is why arboreal, but here we can add, but movement is slower than gibbon. But movement is slower than the gibbon. Okay, height is 4 feet. Height is 4 feet. Weight is 80 to 90 kg. Height 4 feet. Weight 80 to 90 kg. The cranial capacity is much more larger than gibbons. It is 370 to 430 cc. The cranial capacity is between 370 and 430 cc. Recently, one other video was circulating about orangutans. Okay, it was in the cage, and some guy was trying to teach him. Okay, and he was doing like this, and then after that he started doing this with his leg. Okay, because he thought that anyway he is in cage. Okay, so he was just sitting. One time he came and caught his legs. Okay, not only legs, he just caught his jeans. Okay, that he was wearing, and then 5-6 people are trying. He was not leaving it. Okay, the guy was scared, and he was like really screaming. Okay, after that they say that remove your pant. Okay, that is the only option. Then he was able to get free. Okay, so the grasping power is what very stronger. Okay, you can stand 60-80 kg of weight they can drag and take by only their arms and hands. Okay, so that is what I'm talking. So CC cranial capacity is this much. Next we can write is, obviously that means higher cranial capacity. What does it represent? If you compare the intelligence, gibbons will be less intelligence, orangutans will be more intelligence. Intelligence level is determined by the cranial capacity itself. Okay, so we can add here more intelligent than gibbon, a higher cranial capacity, thus more intelligent than gibbons. Then next point we can write digital formula. Digital formula 34251. Digital formula is 34251. 34251. And last point we can write, they are able to make various facial expression that is not seen in gibbons. They are able to make various facial expressions. So that is about the second primate, orangutans. Huh? Orangutan diplomacy refers to where the animals are being exchanged between two countries. Okay, like unique animals are there, such as panda is there. Panda is uniquely found where? Only in China. So when China want to develop a strong bilateral relationship or want to present a good gesture to other countries, it gifts panda. Okay, because it is not found in any country. So China has started basically animal diplomacy by gifting panda to US, Australia, New Zealand, and all that. And similarly, on that line, the Malaysia has also decided to use the same, because I told you orangutans are found only where? In the Malaysia and Indonesia. So they have started gifting, like for example, recently they have gifted to this Central Asian country. I think Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan is there. Similarly, in the Kazakhstan, you have a special unique breed of horses are there. Look clearly silver white color. Okay, entire bodies of silver white and looks very photogenic in nature. So they also are gifting this to China, Russia, and other countries. So it is a type of animal diplomacy where countries are exchanging, not gifting animals. Okay, it's unique animals. So Thailand has began this elephant diplomacy. It has gifted elephants to several other countries where elephants are not found. So orangutan diplomacy. Then next we can study about is chimpanzee. Chimpanzee. So chimpanzees more closer to humans as compared to the other two. That is the gibbons and orangutans. So this point first we can make more closer to humans than gibbons or orangutans. Average height is 5 feet. Then we can write average height of adults only we are talking about. So average height is 5 feet. Weight is 125 kg. Weight is 125 kg. Then cranial capacity is between 400 to 500 cc. The cranial capacity is between 400 to 500 cc. Then next, they are able or can be trained. They are able or can be trained to use tools. To use tools. Use tools. Okay, next point. They can be trained and taught. They can be trained and taught in many activities. Be trained and taught in many activities that involves control and intelligence. That involves control and intelligence. Right. Then next, last point you can write. The tooth, the canine is very sharp and pointed. The canines are very sharp and pointed with simian gap. With simian gap. Simian gap means in the lower part, for example, if the canine is very sharp, what happens? It does not have a space that it can, like if you have human tooth, if we talk about, from bottom also you have tooth, upper side also you have tooth. So tooth are basically fitted with tooth. There what do we have? Canines are very pointed and tall. Tall means long, basically you can say. So that is why there is a gap in what you can call as the gums and jaws, so that tooth can rest at the lower jaw. So upper canine is resting at the lower jaw. The lower canine is resting in the upper jaw. So that area of the jaw is what, or gum is what, free of tooth. That is called as simian gap. Okay, so they have the simian gap. So that is digital formula is same as humans, 2 and 4 3. Digital formula same as humans, 2 and 4 3. 4 to 3 3 3. So that is about the chimpanzee. And last primate that we have to talk about is the gorilla. Okay, gorilla. So gorilla, as we can see, out of all the primates, it is the bulkiest one. Okay, all the primates, out of all the primates, this is first important point we can write here. Out of all the primates, gorilla is the bulkiest. The height is 5.5 feet. Okay, the height is 5.5 feet. Okay, the weight is 200 kilograms. Weight is 200 kilograms. The cranial capacity is same as chimpanzee, 500 cc around. Cranial capacity is similar to chimpanzee, around 500 cc. Gorillas are terrestrial primate. Gorillas are terrestrial primate. And locomotor pattern is called as quadrupedalism. They are terrestrial primate and involve in quadrupedalism. Okay, quadrupedalism means walking on all the four limbs. Okay, taking support of all the four limbs. So quadrupedalism. Yeah, basically in quadrupedalism also the unique kind of walking they exhibit is called as knuckle walking. Okay, that we can write in bracket. In quadrupedalism, they exhibit knuckle walking. Okay, knuckle walking means what? They do not walk like this. Okay, they make their fist like this and they're walking on what? This part. Okay, so this part like this. That is called as knuckle walk. So that is the quadrupedalism, knuckle walking. Next point we can write is okay, the body is covered with black hair except chest and face. The body is covered with black hair except chest and face. Then other thing, if you look here, the face is more similar to humans, but nose is similar to the apes. Okay, that we can write. So face similar to humans, while nose similar to other apes. And last we can write it is strongest of all the primates. It is strongest of all the primates and is found in African forests and is found in African forest. African forest, where is forest in Africa? In the central part of Africa. Congo is there, Uganda is there, all these regions are there. So that is where in that is about the characteristics we have to study about the four main primates, that is gibbon, then we have chimpanzee, orangutan and gorilla. Okay, so this is a very important evolutionary line. This you can add with if question is asked about specifically primate evolution. So that already we have talked about taxonomy. Okay, that where from where which is order and all this we have. Here we have this is the order of evolution. We talk about the primates, the last that we can say sub family level which we have discussed about. So primate evolutionary tree, if you try to understand, we have some common ancestor which we are not sure about. Okay, so this is unknown. But we know that from common ancestor, we have how many lines that has emerged? 4 lines, first of all, has emerged. Okay. So we have old world monkey, new world monkey, prosimians. Okay. And from the old world monkey, basically what is happening? Hominoid line is branching out in the hominoid line. Then further you have sub branching. What happens? First of all, you have the gibbons. Okay, that is why they are very far away. Then second line, you have the evolution of orangutans. Then in third line went, and then here you have the evolution of 3 different branches, that is chimpanzee, gorilla, and humans. Now you can understand that why we are talking about the gibbons are what? Farthest from the human line of evolution. Nearest after gibbon, which is the nearest one? Orangutan is nearest. After that, chimpanzee, and after that, gorilla. So that is the order in which we have discussed. So gibbon, this orangutan, chimpanzee, gorilla, and human. That is the extent of nearness. So this you can draw it. If not to draw, you cannot draw diagram anyway. Okay, you can just write the names. So the examples are given here. Prosimians, yesterday already a lot of examples were discussed. Completed, right? So that is the adaptation. Later we'll discuss about this detail. Next we are talk about is the primate behavior. Okay, some unique behavior that is observed in the primates. Again, here we are not talking about this man only in general, but all the primates. So important or major primate behavior. Now we have to be briefly understand it here. In next week you will get the this related to that, you will get the content. Okay, so we have kind of study by yourself in details to understand this in a proper way. So brief understanding means what kind of behavior they exhibit. First is what we can call as social grooming, that is observed in all the monkeys and apes. We have social grooming. So we can write few points about social grooming. Social grooming is basically Like you might have seen the monkeys. Okay, they seem like what, taking out the lice from the hair of each other or head of each other. But that is not the only object. That is one of the outcome of that. Okay, if they find something, they remove it. Okay? Otherwise, even if the lice is not there, they'll keep on touching and doing this kind of thing. That is called as social grooming. Basically, it is based on what, touch. Okay, where the different primates touch each other. Okay, and this is how they bond. Actually, the touch is used for bonding and a strengthening of relationship. A bonding and strengthening of relationship. Okay. Then second point we can add, it also helps in expressing, it also helps in expressing leadership, and subservience, expressing leadership and subservience to the alpha male in their group. Leadership and subservience to the alpha male in the group. Alpha male basically means leader of the group. Okay, whichever is the most dominant male is there, more powerful, strongest male is there, he becomes the leader, and then the other members of the group, okay, basically they are doing grooming for him. Okay, basically it is a way of what, showing that we accept your leadership. Okay, so if they do not accept leadership, then what will happen? They will not groom, rather they will start to have fight and quarrel with each other. So that is why social grooming also helps in establishing proper leadership. And third, last point you can write, it is a way, it is a way of expressing, it is a way of expressing love for mating. It is also a way of expressing love for mating. So these are the points that we can write in the social grooming. Next is parental care. Okay, that is common in all man as well as other primates. So we have parental care. Parental care, we know that the children's born or child born to any of the primate is what, dependent on the mother for a very long period of time, because their not brain is not fully developed to take care of themselves independently. So that is why they require what, care of the parents, rather for feeding purposes or for taking general care of it. Okay, so that we can make due to small brain size and immaturity. Due to small brain size and immaturity, the parental care is required. The parental care is required for 6 to 12 months. The parental care is required for 6 to 12 months, either for feeding, or protection against danger, either for feeding or protection against danger. That is the parental care. Third point we can write about is the reproduction behavior. The reproduction. So reproduction we can write several apes. Several apes have interbirth intervals. Several apes have interbirth intervals to ensure proper care of the infant. To ensure proper care of the infants. Okay. Thus, except in humans, we can add here. Thus, except in humans, the females, the female primates, except in human, the female primates are seasonally receptive. Okay, the term that you can get. The female primates are seasonally receptive. Seasonal receptive means they cannot mate throughout the year. They have a proper particular season, okay, in which mating will happen, birth of the offspring will happen. After that, there will be interbirth interval or interbirth period. So that is the next point. That is seasonal receptive. Then next point, in all of the primates, in all of the primates except gibbons, in all of the primates except gibbons, pair bonding is not observed. All the primates except gibbons, pair bonding is not observed. Pair bonding means what? Monogamy we can equate it with. Okay, that means one female will have one male partner. So in gibbons, what they have? Monogamy. Okay, that means lifelong there will be what? Only one partner. But in other apes like orangutan, chimpanzee, and gorilla, what do we have? You can have multiple. Okay, the female apes can have multiple partners in their life. So the pair bonding refers to what? Monogamous kind of system. Okay, lifelong we have one partner. So pair bonding is only seen in gibbons. In other apes, such kind of system is not exhibited. And last point we can write, in chimpanzees, mating is preceded by, in chimpanzees, mating is preceded by several weeks of courtship. In other apes, it is very less time period. Okay, so chimpanzees spend more time in impressing the females, okay, as compared to other apes. So the courtship lasts for several weeks before the actual mating. Mating is preceded by several weeks of courtship. That is unique to the chimpanzees. Unique to the chimpanzee. So these are the points we can add in the reproduction. Then we have next is the mother-infant relationship based on same parental care. It is the most important relationship that we see in the primate groupings. The most important relationship, because the mothers are most protective of their infant, and for their infant, their life, their threat, if any danger, they can fight with anyone. So in the apes also, mother-infant relationship is the most important one. Next, what do we have is the behavior of dominance that is seen in almost all the primates, okay, all kind of apes. Dominance. So dominance is basically is to ensure a proper social status hierarchy, okay, that is maintained by dominance. It is to ensure the social status hierarchy. It is mainly because of the group living which they exhibit. The primates did not live alone. All the primates live in a group together. And in a group, if you want to have cooperation, if you want to ensure the survival of group, what is required? You need to have proper understanding of who is the most important individual, okay, or whose decision is the final one, binding one. Okay, no one can question his decision. So in group living characteristic, the social status hierarchy is required, and that is exhibited by the dominance. In dominance, generally, what we see, the stronger male is the most dominant one, and then you have the other males, and then they are dominant over the females. Okay, so this is the hierarchy that we can end. Stronger male is dominant over other males, and also they are dominant over females. This kind of hierarchy also plays importance during the competition phase, if it occurs due to the changing environment or scarcity of food, lack of resources. So based on this hierarchy, during the competition phase, the high ranked individuals displace the lower ranked ones. Whenever there is a phase of competition, competition can be for several things. Okay, largely it is for the food, for space, or for mating. So for all of these three, either for food or for space or for mating, in competition or during competition, the high ranked individuals, they displace or they have upper hand, okay, we can say, as compared to the lower ranked individuals. And last point in dominance you can write, to protect against male dominance or attacks, to protect against male dominance or attacks, many times females form a group of their own. Many times females form group of their own, especially with infants, especially with the infants. Okay, so generally suppose that you have a group of gorillas or chimpanzee, we can consider, where the main leader has been killed or died due to some reason. Now what will happen? The male of other group will try to capture the females and the territory and the space and food of this other group. And suppose that all these females or a lot of these females are having a small infant children are there. So now if that male come and claim, so what you can say, control over those group, generally the male will kill the small children, okay, because it is not his children. So to protect against such kind of attacks and threat, all the females, what they do, they form a strong group of their own where they collectively repels any kind of attack that can happen by the male gorillas or male chimpanzee. Okay, so dominance is also thwarted by the female group also. But generally in normal time, what you have the loosely bound group of males and females both living together. in this kind of hierarchical status. That is the dominance. Next behavior that we see is obviously aggression. Aggression or aggressive behavior. So aggression we can write, it is observed. It is observed either at intra or interspecies level. Is observed either at intra or interspecies level. It serves several purposes. It serves several purposes. Okay. First, scare away the competitor. Okay. First is to scare away the competitors. Okay, for example, same thing. If another group member is trying to come and capture control over the other group, then the group members can show aggression and repel the attacks. So that is first. Second, to exert control. To exert control or dominance. Exert control or dominance in the group. In the group. Yeah, because sometimes what happens, you have a main leader is there. Now, many times what happens, the main leader suppose is ailing, old, or is injured. In that case, the other males get this idea that now we can kill, harm, or basically remove him from the higher social status, and I can become the leader. So in that case, what happens again? Aggressive behavior is witnessed in both, and depending on who is becoming the winner, okay, finally the social status is changing there. So that is the second point. Then last point we can write, aggression in apes. Aggression in apes are generally spontaneous. And must be released. Generally spontaneous and must be released. Okay, what it means, like in humans, they cannot start doing yoga and meditation. Okay, if they feel what they can say, anger or frustration. So any kind of emotions they feel, okay, especially related to negative emotions like anger, frustration, or this something that has to be released spontaneously, and this is something that they are not able to control it. Okay, as the humans have the ability to control their emotions and anger, that is not seen in the other. That is about aggression. Last we can write about is the communication. Communication. So in the apes, communication occurs generally by three ways. One we can say by gesture. Posture. Posture means body posture. Gesture, posture, and vocalization. The communication among the apes takes place by using gesture, posture, and vocalization. Right, because they do not have any language as we humans have. So how they can communicate? Like gesture, if you talk about, okay, like showing of teeth is example of what? Gesture. Okay, so showing of teeth is considered as what? It is considered as basically it is considered as aggression. Okay, so if you are near the monkeys and start laughing, showing your teeth, okay, they think that you are challenging them. Okay, they'll come and break your teeth. So that is the gesture, showing of teeth. Or in gorillas, you have thumping of chest to assert dominance. Two examples you can get here: showing of teeth And in gorillas, in other monkeys also sometimes thumping of chest, but in gorillas it is most dominant, this common one. Thumping of chest, it is a gesture of exerting dominance. Other is example you can write of communication is body posture. Okay, body posture. Body posture here means how their body is oriented. It shows that whether they are accepting the leadership or whether they are challenging the leadership of the other males and all that. So body posture, if it is lower than other. Okay, let us take example of male. If body posture of one male is lower than the other male, it is considered as a signal of what? Subservience. Okay, accepting the authority of the other one. So body posture is lower than the other male. It shows subservience. Okay, or in case of male and female, if we talk about, if the male approaches female and female puts her body away from the male, okay, that means it is a signal of disinterest, okay, in mating. So female body is away or on opposite side, it shows sexual disinterest, right? The female's body is on the opposite side or away from the male, to sexual disinterest. That is how by body posture we also communicate things. Okay, that is why when in Africa you have gorilla treks, okay, that are organized by the tour agencies, where you can walk in the mountains, in the forest, and can meet the gorillas. So take a large group. So whenever they take a large group, they first of all give some sort of primary training to the people that how they should not behave or act. For example, they cannot start showing their teeth there. Okay, or generally they are said that if you see a gorilla around you, okay, you should do what? Like go down, okay, or lower your body down, because if the gorilla is at this height and you also are standing at this height, okay, you will feel that you are challenging his dominance and position and he can attack you. Okay, and if you attack, then obviously you will be killed. Okay, there is no other option. So that is why that is body position I told you. Their body posture always need to be what? Lower. That is why people there are walking like this crouch position. They do not walk in standing position near the gorillas. So that is the example of body posture. Registered body posture, and obviously they do not have language, but obviously they can produce sounds. Okay, so in times of anger, okay, hunger, or any kind of emotions which they are feeling, they also release it by producing loud noises, loud sounds. So that is the vocalization. That is the communication. These are the major behaviors that we can write related to the primates. Okay, next week I will share the document with you where the behavior of all the 4 primates are given separately. The 4 that we talked about: gibbons, orangutans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. Okay, that is not required for examination as much, but it will help you understanding in better way. Okay, so in examination largely I talk about common points. Okay, but for your purposes, for a better understanding, you can read those documents. That is the primate behavior. Next, we have to study about the comparative anatomy, that is comparison between man and ape. Comparison, right, between man and apes. Comparison between man and apes. Okay, so to understand this, basically the skull difference we talk about, this is the major way how we can represent the skull. Now see, this diagram is also not just for looking, but this diagram you have to draw in the examination as well. Okay, so make sure that you practice these diagrams. Okay, skull, how the fingers are there, how the limbs are there. Okay, different skeletal system. So this is the general skull of the man, and that is how generally the skull of apes look like. In the last, I think in first slide we have talked about what prognathous and orthognathous. Now we understand prognathous means, as you can see, the face is extending in the outer direction. In humans, what we can say, face is almost a straight line. So this kind of face is called as orthognathous. This is called as prognathous. Okay, so that is to understand the differences. Other difference you try to just look here. If you look at this part, the brow ridge, as you call it in general term, or in anatomy, it is called as supraorbital ridge or supraorbital torus. This area talk about. So in this area, as you can see, in the apes are what very prominent. Okay, it is clearly distinguishable. In the man, by looking at a skull, you cannot basically see a much more difference. So supraorbital torus, and then you have this part. This part is what more conical and flattish. In humans, what do we have? More round kind of pattern we are having. So this is how to understand the difference. We'll talk about all this. This is just to understand from the perspective of the image. Now, in comparative anatomy, first of all, we can write about the resemblances. Okay, what are the common factors between the man and ape? So resemblance between man and ape. Few points we can add here. So that is first of all, this is common and understandable that none of the four apes poses any kind of tail. Okay. Three apes basically: orangutan, gorilla, or chimpanzee. None of them poses tail. Second is a vestigial organ that you must have read about in the lower classes also. That is appendix. Okay, appendix is example of what? Vestigial organ. Okay, that is not used anymore. It is just there because of the older this meat, okay, older form of the. So it is common in both apes as well as humans. Appendix is found. Third is blood is of similar types. Structure of uterus and placenta are also similar. Okay. Opposable thumbs are common in both. The diet pattern, both are omnivorous, and both the species are characterized by stereoscopic vision. These are some of the common points. Okay. If you talk about chimpanzee, between chimpanzee and humans, if you look at even at genetic level, 98.8% of genes are same. Okay, only 1.2% of difference that you have makes us different. So genetic similarity between chimps and humans, they share genetic similarity of 98.8%. Written, completed. So that is the resemblance. Now we can look at the differences, how the apes and man differ, or in which regards they are different. So we can make a table and write these points. Okay, or better, first of all, let us try to discuss about the skull, then we'll come to that. In more detail, we can write a skull, differences in a skull. You can give the heading first. Difference in the skulls of man and ape. Difference in skull of man and ape. So first is, if you look at the sizes, so in humans, see, we can talk about skull. It is made up of two parts. One is the frontal part that has face, another is the cranial part, in which inside encased is your brain. So we can have two parts of skull, facial part and cranial part. So you can write, in humans, cranial part is larger than facial part. In humans, the cranial part of the face is larger than the facial part. Okay, while reverse is case in apes. Okay, while reverse is the case in the apes. Okay, in apes, which part is larger? Okay, later if you can, when you look at the photo also, you'll understand. In apes, the facial part is larger than the cranial part. Again, because of what? This kind of prognathous face. Okay, this area and this becomes much more bigger than the this cranial part. And also size of the cranial capacity we talk about. I told you humans have cranial capacity of how much? 1450 cc. In apes, it is, gorillas, chimpanzees also, it is maximum how much? 500 cc. Okay, so that also is. So that is the first. Then second point, in right, the supraorbital ridge or torus. The supraorbital ridge or torus, more developed in apes than humans. Okay, that we have seen in the diagram itself. The supraorbital ridge or torus, more developed in apes than humans. Lobes of the brain, or this cranium or skull, right? So this part is called as what? Frontal lobe. Okay, then this side, what do we have? Temporal lobe. This is the parietal lobe, and then behind you have the occipital lobe. Occipital lobe means back part of the skull. In the apes, that part is more pointed. In humans, it is more flattish. Okay, so that we can make. The occipital lobe, flat in human, bulging, sorry, flat in apes, bulging out in humans. Flat in apes and is bulging out in humans. You can try to look at the okay, later we'll talk about and look at the skull of or when we compare. So occipital lobe. Next we have is the nuchal crest. Nuchal crest. more developed in apes than humans. For nuchal crest, nuchal crest is more developed in apes than humans. Okay, nuchal crest is basically this area below your earlobes. Okay, this part talk about this area that you see a kind of in the, what do you call it, in the bones. Okay, just below the earlobes, what you have, a kind of this kind of bone is there. Okay, so this bone, and between the earlobes you have a kind of depression. That depression refers to what? Nuchal crest. So it is more developed in apes because in apes the neck muscles are very strong. Okay, so this nuchal crest provide what? Attachment site for the neck muscles. So neck muscles are stronger, that is why nuchal crest are well developed. In humans, neck muscles are not that developed, not that stronger. Okay, that is why it is less developed. The reason again is because of the positioning of the skull. If you look at in the apes, what is happening? This is like the foramen magnum or spinal column, and the skull is placed like this. Okay, understand? Suppose that this is the what? Vertebral column in the apes. A skull is what? Kind of projecting in outward direction. So obviously this is a very bigger area having lot of weight. So how you can support this weight of the skull? Only if you have very strong muscles, and muscles need to be attached with something. That attachment site is what? Nuchal crest. In humans, the vertebral column is like this, and the skull is placed directly above it like this. So the vertebral column itself is supporting what? The skull properly. There is no need for a strong neck muscles to support the skull, and that is why nuchal crest area is what? Relatively less developed. Okay, so this we can write here. It provides attachment site, nuchal crest. It provides attachment site for the neck muscles. For the neck muscles, which is not required in human, which is not required in humans. Next is sagittal crest. Yeah, after nuchal crest, we have sagittal crest. It is heavier and well developed in apes than humans. Sagittal crest, heavier and well developed, heavier and well developed in apes than humans. This is because of the food habits, dietary pattern. Sagittal crest provides attachment site for the jaw muscles. So stronger sagittal crest or heavier sagittal crest means jaw muscles are what? Very, very strong. Why you require strong, heavy jaw muscles? Because you're using your jaw for breaking some hard objects. In humans, once we learn the art of fire, what happened? We did not use so hard food. Okay, we did not eat so hard food. We cook the food. Okay, or we cook it on the fire and all that. Apes do not have that, so they collect a lot of hard nuts are there, seeds are there, fruits are there, and they are dependent only on what? Using their teeth and jaw. That is why it is much more developed in the apes. So you can write it provides attachment site to the jaw muscle. Sagittal crest provides attachment site for the jaw muscle, which is strong in apes, which is strong in apes due to their dietary pattern. It is strong in apes due to their dietary patterns. And then the next point, last point in a skull that we can write about is the placement of foramen magnum. Placement of foramen magnum. Placement of foramen magnum. So you can write in humans, In humans, it is placed downward and at the base of skull. In humans, it is placed downward and at the base of skull. Okay, we have discussed that also before. In apes, it is placed backward, okay, or anterior placement. In apes, it is placed anteriorly. Or backward. In apes, it is placed anteriorly or backward because they are quadrupedal. Okay, so because of how they are moving, the placement of foramen magnum has evolved. So that is the major differences we can elucidate in the skulls of the human and ape. So one thing that we have discussed about nuchal crest is where this part. Okay, this is the nuchal crest area, and we have a sagittal crest is where it is this part. Okay, because if you talk about the upper jaw, if you do like this, how it is connected? It is connected to this part of the brain, this part of the skull. So that both is there. Also, this is where the foramen magnum of the apes are located. So as you can see, where they are in the backward direction from the face. Here, what we are having just in the base of the skull itself. Okay, so that is because of the locomotor pattern. That is the point that you can write. Next, we can write also the difference in the brain now. Okay, skull is the bony part, skeletal part. So the difference in brain we can add. Difference in brain of man and ape. So first difference we can elucidate in the frontal lobe in the brain. First point can write about is the frontal lobe. Okay, frontal lobe. First, we can also try to look at the brain anatomy to understand this better. So lobe wise talk about told you this area above the eyebrow ridges going up to the center of your skull. Okay, this part is called as what? Frontal lobe. Now frontal lobe is site of three things. Okay, we can write frontal lobe. We have written three things you can write. It determines intelligence, judgment. It determines intelligence, judgment, memory, and reasoning capacity. Judgment, learning, and reasoning capacity. Okay, so it is obviously in which it will more develop, man or apes? Man. Okay, so then we can write well developed in man as compared to apes. The frontal lobe is well developed in man as compared to apes. Second difference we can write the parietal lobe. Okay, where is parietal lobe? This part. Okay, to the further up of the frontal lobe. So parietal lobe. Next we can write this one. Parietal lobe. So parietal lobe we can write is the center of parietal lobe is the center of emotion. Center of emotion. which also is well developed in man. Which also is well developed in man. Third, we can write about here is the visual cortex of the brain. Visual cortex of the brain. Visual cortex of the brain is basically around this area. We have eye is there, it is connected to the backward part of skull. So somewhere we can say is between parietal lobe and temporal lobe lies the visual cortex of the brain. So visual cortex is well developed in man. You can write visual cortex is well developed in man, while olfactory lobes are more developed in apes. While olfactory lobes are more developed in apes. Olfactory lobes is responsible for what? Yes, that is more, the sense of smell of apes are stronger than the humans. So that is the thing. Then next in the brain itself, you can write the cerebellum. Cerebellum, that is the area of brain. Cerebellum, that is in the backward part. So is well developed in humans. Cerebellum is well developed in humans as it is responsible for bipedal motion and balance of the body. Responsible for bipedal motion and balance of the body. Right. So this is where you have cerebellum. Okay, in the backward part, most backward or downward part of the brain, you have the cerebellum, and this area is what is used for controlling how you are moving, how you're able to maintain your body position while moving, it not fall down or something like that. So if someone's cerebellum get damaged, what happens? He might not be able to walk in normal way. Okay, he might be having imbalance and all this kind of things. So that is controlled by cerebellum. Okay, overall, if you talk about interior body, this interior of the brain, you have a lot of this parts are there. So same thing is written here. This is the frontal lobe, inner part is shown here basically. The frontal lobe, okay, then we have the parietal lobe, second one. Then we have the occipital lobe. About occipital lobe we have discussed. In humans, it is what? More kind of conical, projecting in the backward direction. If you compare with the skull of apes, after this parietal lobe, it is becoming the structure is becoming like flattish in nature. Occipital lobe is kind of flattish. In man, it is like this. So these are the points we can add in the brain. Next, so that is about the skull part, both the skull part and the brain part we discussed. Next, we can talk about is the post-cranial feature. We can make a comparison of the man and apes in the post-cranial features. Okay, that is anything that is after the skull, okay, or below the skull. So post-cranial feature. And first, we can write about the spinal column or vertebral column. The spinal column. Spinal column. So we can look at the image first to understand the difference. Okay, so humans' spinal column look like what? this kind of curvature it has, okay, curve shape, while the ape's spinal column is roughly what, more straight in nature. Okay, so that is the first difference we can break. The spinal column, the human's spinal column is curved, while in apes it is relatively straight. Curved in humans, not perfectly straight, but relatively straight. So relatively straight in the apes. Second difference, can write in the humans. The spinal column progressively increases in size. In humans, the spinal column progressively increases in size from top to bottom or up to down. Progressively increase in size from up to down or top to bottom. While it is of same size in the apes everywhere. It is of the same size in apes everywhere. Then next point, in the humans, we can make 4 divisions in the spinal column. In the humans, we can make 4 divisions in this spinal column. The first is called a cervical column or cervical chamber. The second part is called as thoracic, okay, around the neck and lung areas. Lung area largely, thoracic. And third part is called as lumbar. Okay, so it is also called a cervical curve or cervical chamber. Let different terms I use. So cervical curve, thoracic curve, okay, lumbar curve, and last is called as sacral curve around sacrum. So these are the 4 divisions of the spinal column: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacral. Yeah, lumbar puncture is a kind of medical what we can say, medical practice is there where you take the sample of bone marrow, okay, from the backward part of the lumbar region. So that is why lumbar puncture, okay, especially for cancer diagnosis and all. So 4 curvatures are there as compared to the in the apes. Since it is a single straightforward or same size same shape, we will not have a classification. Okay, so no classification in apes, we can simply write. No classification of spinal cord in the ape. So this is about the spinal column. Okay, why this kind of evolution has happened? Why the curvature of the what you can say, vertebral column has curved in the humans? Again, it is related to the bipedal location and the erect posture. Okay, in this kind of shape, it is better able to support the weight of the entire upper body. Okay, in this case, support will be relatively lesser. Okay, so this last point we can add here actually. The unique shape of human's vertebral column, the unique shape of human's vertebral column is on the account of erect posture and bipedal gait. So on the account of erect posture and bipedal Bipedal gait. Bipedal gait means basically the way of movement, how you're moving. So bipedal, GAIT, gait. That is about the spinal column. Next in postcranial feature we can talk about is the pelvic girdle. Okay, the heading can give the pelvic girdle of man and ape. So first difference in the pelvic girdle you can write about is in the shape of the pelvic girdle. So shape, the shape of again all of these diagrams you have to practice and try to draw it. Okay, in examination you cannot just write about that is this, that is how the vertebral column looks like, or that is how the skull looks like. Whenever you are writing about it, you have to draw the diagram. Okay, that is better to answer socio-cultural anthropology questions if you are not comfortable or if you do not know how to draw the diagram. But the advantage is that if the question is asked from physical geography, even if you're writing lesser points, but if you are drawing good diagrams, you'll get much more higher marks than the socio-cultural anthropology part. Okay, where you have to write about culture and everything like this. Okay, so always when you are writing answers, prefer which kind of questions? Either from archaeology, because there you have a scope of making diagrams of tools and all that, or from the fossil evidences and primatology. Okay, because here you have the options. So marks you get is much more higher than the other parts. So first is, if we talk about, look at the shape here. In humans, what kind of shape we have? We call it as a wide basin shape. Okay, this pelvic girdle is more wider and look like kind of basin shape. Wide basin shape, while in the apes it is narrow and elongated. Okay, narrow and elongated. What is the reason behind this evolution? Simply to support the weight of internal organs. Okay, again, it is because of bipedalism, such kind of evolution has happened to support the weight of internal organs. Okay, all the internal organs, if we talk about, is basically resting in what? In one single line, and the weight of all this comes finally on what? On the pelvic girdle, because below this then only you have bones and all that. So all the internal organs right from the neck, okay, throat we can say, up to the bottom part. So they require the support, and the basin shape helps in giving them proper support. Okay, in the apes, what is happening? The internal organs are radially distributed. It is not in one line, because their shape is like how? It is like this. Some organs are here, some organs are here, some organs are here. The muscles themselves are supporting the organs, okay, or the bottom part of, we can say, the vertebral column is supporting it, right? And here you have the pelvic girdle. So on pelvic girdle, it does not have the weight of the entire internal organ. In humans, it is like this. So that is why the structure is wide basin shape like a structure. Then second point we can write, the spinal column and pelvis joint. The spinal column, pelvis joint is closer to pelvis and femur joint in man. The spinal column pelvis joint is closer to pelvis and femur joint in the man. Yeah, that obviously will happen because, as we can see, the man's pelvis is what? More compressed. In the ape's pelvis is more long, elongated. So a spinal column is coming from where? From the top, and it is joining what? The pelvis. And below the pelvis, what do we have? What is femur? thigh bones. Okay, thigh bone is femur. So thigh bone is starting from here. So obviously what will happen, since this is more compressed, this joint will be more closer to this joint. In the apes, what will happen? It will be more elongated. Now why it is so? Because see, I told you all the internal organs and the weight of body is finally coming on what? Pelvic girdle. But pelvic girdle itself does not take the entire body weight. It transfers its where? To the downward side, that is on the thighs. Okay, so how the weight can be easily transferred? If the joint is much more closer, okay, there will be less pressure on the bones itself, okay, or thigh, the pelvic bones itself. So we can write here, it is to effectively transfer, it is to effectively transfer the weight of upper body to the legs. It is to effectively transfer the weight of upper body to the legs in man. Then one more line we can add in the same. In the man, forearms are shorter than hind arms or hind limbs. Anything we can write. Forearms are shorter than hind arms or hind limbs, while it is reverse in apes. While it is reverse in the apes. Okay, in apes I told you which arm is longer, which limb is longer. The forelimb is longer. While in the man it is the hind limb. Why? Again, because of same reason. The entire body weight has to be supported by what? By the hind limbs, and that is why they had to be more stronger, more longer, so they can easily bear the weight. The next point we can write here is about the angle, femur angle. Femur angle. The femur angle in man is larger. The femur angle in man is larger, as larger in the bracket you can write 120 degree. The femur angle in man is larger, that is 120 degree, is 120 degree as compared to apes. As compared to apes. Okay, so angle if we talk about, we are talking about this. Draw like this. Right. This angle is how much here? 120 degree. This is a femur thigh bone. So thigh bone is attached to what? This side you have the pelvic girdle is there. So the angle of the attachment of the thigh bones of femur with the pelvic girdle, where you're measuring from where? The straight line of the bone itself. Okay. So that angle becomes 120 degree. In apes, it is much more lesser, smaller. So femur angle, you can draw this diagram. Okay, the angle is about attachment of the femur to pelvic girdle. It's 120 degree. Okay, due to this, what happened? The movement of the legs happen more freely and to a greater extent in man as compared to the apes. Okay, so the advantage of greater femur angle is greater extent of rotation of legs than apes. Okay, so that is the Okay, because if suppose like the apes are standing like this, okay, we can move our legs like this. Okay, apes cannot move like this. They'll have to move their entire body if they want to turn in this direction. So our legs are able to move more freely because of this attachment angle. And one last point we can write in the femur itself. The femur in man is inwardly. Femur in man is inwardly oriented. Inwardly oriented. Inwardly oriented means suppose that the upper body is like spread in this area. Okay, so here if you talk about femur, femur is inside this entire body itself. It is not radiate in the outer direction like this. Okay, that is the case in the ape. That is why they have bent knee. Okay, they cannot have a straight hind limbs. So okay, let us try to look at this in the diagram, understand better. This is the femur. So if you see here, femur is how the shape look like. It is coming in the inward side. Okay, it is becoming more narrower as it is going in the downward direction. And if you measure the body is on this which axis? This axis. So femur is where inside of the entire body structure. Again, the region is same to support properly the body web. Otherwise, if suppose femur was outwardly situated, what will happen? It will have a probability of breaking down if the suddenly increase weight in this weight increases, or if someone is jumping like that. Okay, so this supports proper distribution of the weight from the upper body to the lower body. So, and this is the attachment side we have discussed. This is, you can see pelvic girdle is there. This is the femur coming from here, and it is like this. This angle that you measure is how much? 120 degrees. Okay, so that is the. Then next we can write here is about, okay, same in the same area. You have linea aspera. Linea aspera. Linea aspera is a muscle that is on the back of the femur. Okay, so that is called as linea aspera. In bracket you can write the muscle on the back of femur. Okay, sorry, muscle attachment site actually. Muscle is femur always. Muscle attachment site at the back of femur. Muscle attachment site at the back of femur. It is more developed in man than apes. It is more developed in man than apes. Okay, again same logic is because of erect posture, bipedal location. More developed in man than apes. Okay, so in other way, what you can say, the thigh muscles of man are stronger than the ape's thigh muscle. Okay, because it is supporting the weight of entire body again, and also it is helping in what, when you are moving. Okay, during the movement, what is helping you move? It is a stretching of the thigh muscles. Okay, that is why it need to be properly attached. Okay, in a larger area. That is the linea aspera on the back of the femur. Then last point we can add here is about the hip muscles. Okay, in the hip region, the hip muscles. Three type of muscles we can write here. Hip muscles are called as gluteus maximus, okay, gluteus medius, and gluteus minimus. Three type of hip muscles we can identify: gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and gluteus minimus. Okay, these are also well developed in man than apes. Okay, the three muscles, they are well developed in man than apes. We can write the use of these muscles. The use of these muscles is to stabilize pelvis. The use of these muscles is to stabilize the pelvis during walking. Stabilize the pelvis during walking. Okay, so that is why they are, due to bipedal location, we have well development of the three muscles, hip muscles. So that is what we can talk about this particular area, the difference between the man and apes. In the last, we can come to the feet. Okay, comparison of the feet. Okay, so we can write foot of man and ape. Foot of man and ape. Okay, we can draw also this easy diagram is there. Can draw this diagram also. The difference is simply in what, as you can see, the opposable thumb is there in the foot also for the ape. In man, the thumbs are, or big toe, not thumb, big toe is non-opposable. That is what is shown here. We can draw one more. Okay, so we can draw in the human feet the areas. Okay, we have medius lateral. We have dorsal plantar. That area is called as dorsal plantar. This is the heel, all of you know, and this is the axis of the weekend, the horizontal and vertical axis of the feet. So three differences we can identify in the foot of man and ape. First is already written here. In the ape's big toe is what? Opposable. And what is the advantage of this? The apes can use both hands as well as feet for what? Grasping the objects. Okay, that is why if they are hanging from the tree, okay, they can hang by using both their hand and feet as such. So for grasping. So grasping object. In man, the big toe is non-opposable. Non-opposable. Second difference is in the heels of the foot. In the man, heels are very well developed. Okay, proper demarcation is there that we can make. And in the apes, heels are less developed. Okay, muscles largely, because heel is a muscle area. So heel muscles are well developed in humans, less developed in the apes. And third difference is in the shape or structure, we can say. In the man, as we know, our foot is what is having a kind of arch like shape. Okay. In the apes, it is very flattish, okay, without any arch. So in the man, arched foot. In the apes, arch is absent. Okay, arch development also is because of the same reason. Arch structure help in distribution of weight of body on foot. Helps in distribution of weight of body on foot. Yeah, many people have this problem occurs because their food becomes what more flat in nature. They're not many times, I think in Indian military, I'm not sure, but in many countries when military recruitment is done, the foot is also checked. The arch of the foot is checked whether it is properly developed or not. If you are flat footed, then you will not be taken in the military. You will be disqualified because the balance and distribution of weight is not happening properly there. So person in the army, what they have to do, they have to carry a lot of weight, and also they have to run, okay, walk and all. So the arch plays a very important role there. So that is the foot. Next we can talk about is the hand of ape and man. Probably hand, photograph of hand is not there. Okay, hand of ape and man. We can just write points. Hand, photograph, I missed. So in the hand structure we can write first point. Hands are free of locomotory function in man. Hands are free of locomotory function in man. Thus it is used for manipulation and precise actions. Thus it is used for manipulation and precise actions on the objects. Precise action on the objects. Thus the degree of movement, thus the degree of movement of thumb, thus the degree of movement of thumb in humans is more than apes. Degree of movement of thumb is greater or more in humans as compared to apes. Okay, how degree of movement is more? Because the angle, basically we can say it is because of the angle between thumb and index finger. Angle between thumb and index finger. For higher degree of movement, this angle should be less or more? More. Okay, so the angle between thumb and index finger is larger in man, smaller in apes. The angle between thumb and index finger is larger in man, smaller in apes. Okay, it is because of this you can write very easily. Okay, because when you're holding the pen, how you are holding the pen? The thumb is coming from this direction, the index finger is at its own position. Because of what? This greater angle. In the apes, it is like how? Like this. So if your thumb is like this, it is having very lower degree of movement. Now if you're holding the thumb, this pen, what will happen? You'll have difficulty in holding it precisely. So that is because of the difference in the angle. So that is why the humans are able to do more precise movement as compared to the apes. Next point is nothing, the same, it's all, that's all. Okay, basically it is more flexible. If you talk about the hand movement in man or humans are more flexible as compared to the apes. So that is about the foot, hand, okay, post-training feature to talk about. The last we have to discuss about is the dentition, dental pattern. Okay, so we can compare the dentition of man and ape. Dentition of man and ape. Okay, so this is the ape's dental pattern, and this is the human. So first difference is clearly given here. The difference you can see is in what? The shape itself. In the apes, it is what kind of shape? Horseshoe shape. In the humans, it is curved, okay, parabolic shape, or arch shape it is called. So parabolic or arch shape. In the apes, it is more of U kind of U shape or horseshoe shape. Second difference is in the apes you have simian gap. Okay, while in humans, as you can see, there is no gap between the tooth. All the tooth are basically at this, what you can say, placed together. So this is this gap that you are seeing here. This is the simian gap. It is basically for, I told you, for resting of which tooth? Canines. For resting of canines. So it is very long in apes. So simian gap. It is for the resting of the canines. So the canine of upper jaw is resting on the lower jaw, and the canines of lower jaw is resting in the upper jaw. So both jaws have what? Simian gap is there. And now it is because of this what is happening, like they are getting locked together. So we can do a round motion with our jaw, okay, circulatory motion. In the apes, only vertical motions happens, okay, in the jaw. So with this we can write here. Thus in apes, no rotation of jaw is possible. Only vertical motion. Because if they try to rotate jaw, what will happen? The canines will collide with each other. Okay, the upper canine and lower canine. So due to this, no rotation of jaw, only vertical motion of jaw is exhibited. Okay, and one difference in the same we can add then. In the apes, canine is what? Longer and sharp, longer and sharper. In the apes, canine is longer and sharper as compared to the humans. Okay, so if you talk about the teeth, in the front, what teeth do we have? Incisors are there. Okay, after incisor, what do we have? Canines. After canines, we have premolars. Okay, and then we have molars. So next difference is what we see in the premolars. Okay, so you can write premolar teeth. Premolar. So first we can write in man, the lower premolar. In man, the lower premolar, this molar has two cusps. In man, lower premolar has two cusps. While it is one in apes. While it is one in apes. Okay, this diagram you can draw to explain it. A cusp means what? This kind of depression is there in the teeth. That is called as cusp. So in man, we have two cusps in the lower premolar. And if you draw for the apes, let us see. So this is for man. The ape's premolar looks something like this. You have single cusp, okay, one conical cusp. Then about molars, we can write. In molars, both have two cusps. In molars, both, okay, apes and humans, both apes and humans have two cusps. But the cusp of man, is low and blunt. The cusp of man is low and blunt, while in apes, it is more conical and deep. While in ape, it is more conical and deep. So this is a diagram you can draw to represent it. This is the man's molar. You can see the cusp is same too, but here we can see cusp is what more shallow in nature. Okay, here cusp is what more vertical, more deep in nature. That is why more conical in nature. And that is about the molar tools. Completed, right? So last we can write concluding remark about this. However, the dental formula or pattern, is same for both apes and mans. However, the dental formula or pattern is same for man and apes. Okay. And this is represented like this. Okay. This is the dental formula. Okay. 2123 by 2123 into 2. So here represents 2 represents what? Number of incisors. Okay, then we have canines. Okay, that. So this on one side, this on other side, into both up and down. Okay, so total how many teeth? 32. Okay, so it is same here. Okay, in apes what do we have? This is 2 incisors, this is 1 canine, this is 2 premolar and 3 molars. Okay, human also 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolar and 3 molars are there. Sometimes the all teeth do not erupt, okay, in the man, okay, because the requirement gradually, if we talk about in the course of evolution, two things are happening in dental pattern. One, the teeth are becoming shorter and shorter, smaller and smaller because of the cooking of the food that is happening. And second, also what is happening, the molars are getting lost, okay, because the need of molars are not that much in today's life. Okay, so gradually the number of molars will reduce in the future. So this is how we can compare. I think we have talked about all the things in the anatomy of comparative anatomy of man and apes. Huh? What? A biting force will be more, no? Obviously. Yeah, biting force, because I told you that jaw muscle is stronger in which apes. Okay, so jaw muscle, what is the use of jaw muscle? For chewing. So that is. Now 2.3 we can write about the culture also, because that is also where we have the differences. Okay, so cultural difference we can write. Cultural difference. So man has developed a culture. Man has developed culture largely due to increase in brain size and linguistic capabilities. Increase in brain size and linguistic capability which also is observed in the facial expression, okay, or detailed facial expression, which also is observed in detailed facial expression of man. Detailed facial expression of man. On the apes other hand, on the other hand, culture is missing or has not developed. Culture is missing or has not developed. So this is what we have to study in the comparative anatomy of man and apes. So we can take a break. After that, we'll start with the next topic that we'll talk about is the hominization process. Okay, how the hominization process. So we can write this topic that will just start after the comparative anatomy, and write about the skeletal changes. Okay, skeletal changes due to erect posture. Skeletal changes due to erect posture